Hello, my friends. A continuation of the signs of this comet that we see passing by us right now, the C2022 E3 ZTF, as the world has called it. This essentially outpouring that has come to me about this particular comet or sign that we see, this comet. I began this journey walking about a green comet more than 5 years ago, whenever I was first given any kind of an inkling to look out for something that was a green comet. The song that the Lord gave me that basically named it for me in my thoughts was the Green-Eyed Lady song, because that's how I was understanding that the comet that I was to be looking for was a green comet, Green-Eyed Lady. And then all the movies and songs and everything else that I shared in those other two videos. That all came after the fact of walking something that would come where I would put all of these things together. In the very beginning, whenever I could not get out of the Word of God, I could not get myself out of the Bible. I mean, I would not eat for days upon days just because I would sit and read it. That's building a foundation, as all of those who know God will do. They will get into the Word and they will know it. And then once they recognize and understand the Word, they grow up to eventually understand what it means, because they're taught it over a series of events and walking with God, just like He's standing right beside you. He'll give you all kind of different events and things that happen so that you not only know the Word like the Pharisees do, but you understand it, which is the key to all knowledge of everything of the kingdom of heaven, is to not just know the Word, but to understand what it means. Put it into practice, as Jesus called it. So here's what has come to me even over the last few days. I used to sit and look at the numbers of days in prophecy, the 1260 count, the 1290 count, the 1335 count, and I could always find things to attach to it, but I could never find anything perfect. No matter how hard I looked into this, I could not see something that absolutely aligned to combining those things together. And as I'm driving my kid to school this morning, all of a sudden a bunch of different things came to me, and it all started with a couple of different things. First, I had connected the period of time between when we were first made aware of this comet to when it became visible to us, which was close to the gestation of a baby, 9 to 10 months. It wasn't perfectly 40 weeks or 280 days or even anywhere real close to that, but it was close enough to where I could make that connection and then begin to search for other things that align it even better to fit something. Because if this is indeed a sign from God, it is of importance. Much like the wise men when Jesus were born, they knew the Star of Bethlehem. They knew what they were looking for, but they were the only ones. Who does Jesus call the wise virgins in the end? They understand the time. The wise virgins and the wise men mean the same thing in Matthew 25, meaning they know when Christ is to be born on the earth. And only they really search for these things and know these things because God has given that to them to fulfill something. So this comet was discovered by us March 2nd, 2022. Now we go and we see that yesterday, January 12th, it made its closest approach towards the sun. Remember the Green-Eyed Lady song? Going slowly towards the sun is one of the lyrics. It approached its closest point to the sun yesterday, fulfilling that song. And then it zips around the sun and makes its closest approach to Earth on Wednesday, February 1st. So keep in mind that January 12th was the closest approach to the sun. How many days was that? That was 317 days between the time we saw it, first recognized it in March 2022, to the time it became visible to us, January 2023. 317 days between. Now, the book of Daniel and Revelation, as I said in the beginning, it gives different counts. A 1260-day count, a 1290-day count, and a 1335-day count. And blessed are those who remain until the 1335th day. Meaning that you have this discrepancy, as it says on this this random thing that I pulled up on my phone to look for these things to show I can show it to you. It's a discrepancy of basically 45 to 75 days, meaning that what would tie all of these things together for one event? The average length of gestation of a human being is 280 days or 40 weeks. So from the first day of the woman's last menstrual cycle to the date of the conception, the day that the sperm met the egg to birth, is roughly 280 days on average. Now you go days between dates. From Wednesday, March 2nd, 2022, when we first discovered the comet, up until Thursday, January 19th, 2023, the day that I had put everything together with all the Lord has been given me to walk in my life, and say that's the day that I would circle if something was to happen within the window of this comet passing by the Earth, that would be the day of something to come. Thursday, January 19th to Wednesday, March 2nd, 2022 is 324 days. So from the time that the comet was made aware to us, from the moment that the word went out, until the day of something coming from that comet, the birth of its works, so to speak, is 324 days to January 19th, 2023. If you add up 280 plus 45, you get to a count of 325. And 280 is the average gestation of a human being. Adding 45 days onto that, because blessed is they who remain until the 1335th day. Meaning you're talking about the counts of 1290 going to 1335. There's 45 days between those counts. If you go to the midnight hour, this other song that I was given long ago about what that day when Christ returns would look like. I'm going to wait till the midnight hour. That's when my love come tumbling down. When there's no one else around, I'm going to take you, girl, and hold you and do all these things I told you in the midnight hour. I'm going to wait till the stars come out and see that twinkle in your eyes. And I'm going to wait till the midnight hour. That's when my love begins to shine. We're talking about in the twinkling of an eye, at the midnight hour. All of these things connected to the midnight hour. The green-eyed lady, lovely lady, strolling slowly towards the sun, meaning what we just witnessed. Green-eyed lady, ocean lady, soothing every raging wave that comes, and the earth opened up and swallowed up the water. Green-eyed lady, passionless lady, dressed in love, she lives for life to be what all of those who are doing whenever they're walking with the Lord right now. We're not living in this glass world that we see that's shattering. We're living for the one to come. Green-eyed lady, windswept lady, moves the night, the waves, and the sand. What is the earth right now? It is like sand. And what are people doing who are preparing for things to come? They're building a house on sand because everything has come to the time of change. Green-eyed lady, ocean lady, child of nature, friend of man. What did Jesus call all of us? Friends. So you go from all of these things that you see happening with the sign of this comet. The word went out of it on March 2nd, 2022. To January 19th, the day that I had spoke as to reason why I saw that being the day to look for in those previous two videos. To January 19th is 324 days from the time that count began until the time that count ends, or 1,335 days, if you're talking about already hitting a point of 1,290 days, and then adding 45 days onto that. And what would come at the end of that 324th day? The midnight hour, which would be the 325th day. Whenever I began to put all of the things together with the airplanes crashing and numbers 191 and all of these other things that I spoke of in the other two videos. I had a dream back at the same time I had a dream about the presidents in 2016. I had this dream in August 2016. It's how I knew that I was to vote for Donald Trump, and I knew he was going to win because I had saw him in this same dream that I had. And in this same dream that I had, the beginning of that dream, there was Kobe Bryant, the professional basketball player who died in a helicopter crash. He was pushing around a cart of stuffed animals and different things, and he was trying to swindle people out of money, essentially. He was putting on a racket. And I had said that I was going to go play this game, but I had said that I needed to go to the ATM. But then once I got to the ATM, I saw a big sign that said the ATM closes at 5 o'clock. Meaning that that was the end of all things money related, financially related, everything in the world. It hits a point of close. The ATM closing represents the ending of one age and into something else. Just like you're seeing how they're trying to end money and make this crypto system that they're going to do in the world. All of that connected to the mark of the beast that would come. You cannot buy or sell lest you have it. The vaccines were the opening trial of that, because we know in many places you couldn't buy or sell or conduct any kind of business unless you took the vaccine. It will be exactly like that with the mark, except even worse. When the ATM shut down, shows the end of that system. It shows the midnight hour of one era and entering a new day in the next era. In the midnight hour, with the ATM closing at 5 o'clock, how Kobe Bryant, of all people, was in my dreams and was one who died in a helicopter crash after that dream, a couple of years after that dream. It shows of a cataclysmic event bringing world change immediately after it, which is exactly how I've had other dreams, and my understanding completely of the coming of the Lord is it happens in a catastrophic event. As in, one of my dreams, I see something like a missile or an object coming down from space, and it's just right over top of the earth, almost hovering, ready to hit into the trees. And I see a fire behind it, and then all of a sudden, it is as if time stops, and I see a sign up in the air, a big golden sign that looks like something like a cross in the middle of this sign. And I knew that that sign in my dream was the coming of the Lord. And it was as if he stopped time for a moment. And as I went up towards that sign that I saw in the sky, I could look down onto the earth and see the earth flattened in fire from whatever had come down and hit it as I was going up. Just like somebody in a helicopter crash, just like somebody in Flight 191 that died in an airplane crash, and they were able to see their own death. That DC-10 that crashed in 1979, it had cameras for the first time that they ever did this in airlines. They never did it after it because, obviously. But there was cameras in the front nose of the airplane where everybody had a television set in the back of their seat, a closed-circuit television. They could literally watch the plane taking off and flying, and they could look at that closed-circuit television set. Well, you know what they saw in 1979? They literally saw the plane rushing down to meet the earth. They saw their own death ahead of time. Imagine the terrifying nature that would be to be on that plane, to see that. That, quite possibly, is what we're seeing with this comet as it passes by. The people on Earth are literally watching their destruction, their doom approach them. And there's nothing that anybody can do about it. And I made a comment this morning to somebody. I saw a video of one of these prepper channels. And they're speaking about how you got to be prepared for this and be prepared for that. So it just came to me by the Spirit to say, what is this generation likened to? What are this people like? They're like a farmer who has been given by their ancestors, their grandparents and their father. They've been given a great bunker underneath of the house that when they look up and they see that the storm clouds are coming and they can hear the crackling of thunder and the wind's beginning to pick up and the sky is pitch black and they're living in Tornado Alley, so they know that there's going to be a tornado coming. These farmers look up and they see that sky, but rather than run down into that bunker that their ancestors built for them, they decide to quickly run into the town, into the city, and they're selling their goods to buy a glass house, a glass greenhouse, that they bring back to their property and quickly set up this glass greenhouse. And right before the tornado hits, they go inside of this glass greenhouse and close the door. And as the glass begins to shatter on this greenhouse, and they're swept up into the funnel cloud and torn to pieces, never seen again. That is what this generation of people is like. They can see the tornado barreling down on them, but rather go into the safety that was given to them already by their ancestors. The foundation of the church, the Word of God. That is your shelter. That is your safety. And this generation of people already has it. But they instead go buy and sell for a glass greenhouse that gets torn apart when the tornado comes. That is what this generation of people is like. And that is what everybody on the earth is doing right now. They're trying to prepare for a safety, doing anything of the world that they can think that would keep them safe, when there's no safety in any of it, because we're living on a sandy shored beach, that anything you build on that sandy shore, once the wave comes in, is going to be taken right back out with the water. And like Flight 191, this whole generation of people is watching the plane crash into the ground. But they have no way out of it, just like Flight 191 had no way out of what happened to them. And it's because they don't use what the church gave them, what the mission of the church was, to spread the gospel, that they did to completion. They don't use that word to send out their own prayer to God so that He hears that prayer from the moment that it goes out. And He provides them safety on the day of protection, or on the day of destruction. He gives them protection. That is the one thing that they will not prepare for. The only thing that was important to prepare for. Martha, Martha, why do you do this whenever you're standing in front of the Lord? Why? Why does this matter to you? That is what this generation is like. And it's just amazing to me. And again, I cannot be certain of this until it would happen. But I'm circling the 19th of January, and I'm looking at this window between January 12th to February, whatever it would be. Roughly a period of 45 to 75 days while this comet is passing by and through us. And I'm looking at this period, and I'm circling that date of next Thursday, because of all of these other things that I've just been given over the last couple of days to put it together, how it matches up to the birth and gestation, plus an additional 45 missing days that prophetically people have all tried to explain, myself included. What if that is what that was to be? And of course, I can go back and I can show you different fulfillments, how 1260 days could have led to this, or 1290 days could have led to fulfill this. But none of that really matters to us right now if we're watching the 1335th day and know when that day is and know when that day comes. What does Jesus tell those who do not know Him? You will not know the day of my coming. And what did the wise men know? They knew the birthday of Jesus because they saw the sign in the heaven and they followed it, and they went to where Jesus was born in the manger. Much like I feel the same thing would come to us, and it wouldn't be known by anybody else but other than us, because we're the only ones that need that knowledge and can understand it. The wise virgins know of their day to prepare for. And I look at how all of these things have added up to come to this. And now the third thing that I'm putting out about this, and the Lord continues to keep giving me more and more of it, and giving me other witnesses of these things. And I really circle that day as something to really watch out for. You know how the watchmen all give you, well, let's look at these days. This date right here is a high watch date. That day is a high watch date. And they've all come and gone. Perhaps this one will do the same thing. But I do know that unlike the watchmen who have fallen asleep, the wise virgins not only wake up and wipe their eyes and know where they're at, but they know where they're at because when they go to light their lanterns again, there's a flame that still comes from it. Unlike the ones, like the farmers who go out and buy and sell trying to find more of that oil. And we very well may be watching as this comet passes us and comes to us, as it just slowed strolling, or it just went towards the sun right now. What is that lyric? Strolling slowly towards the sun. It just did that. Now we could be, right now, being dressed in love as she lives for the life to be that comes at the end of that 1335th day. The discrepancy between prophetic events. I might not know what just passed us by, but I know that I'm looking forward to that 1335th day. And I'm looking at the signs in heaven, I'm looking at the signs on earth, and I'm seeing that everything Jesus spoke about is already happening or occurring in exactly the way he said it. And he says, when you see all these things, this generation shall not pass away until they see the coming of him, and I believe him. God bless.